Welcome to the Mark Warsh Show. It's been an eventful week with tensions between the United States and Russia rising, along with the Supreme Court showdown over President Joe Biden's plan to forgive federal student loans. It's a sign of the times we live in that the world's two biggest nuclear powers are on a collision course and that the government is trying to cancel student loan debt. And here in Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot is fighting for her re-election with an embarrassing history-making four-year tenure. The people have chosen to fight crime through law enforcement instead of emotional grandstanding. Let's see how it plays out. FTX is back in the news, and a reminder that the corruption and fraud are real challenges in today's world of cryptocurrency, and that the power struggle between the federal government and state governments is still alive and well. Lastly, are you ready to say goodbye to the emergency powers your state government took from you for the last 3 years? Sound like a plan? So stay tuned to the Mark Warsh Show for all the latest news and updates on these stories and more. With tensions between the United States and Russia rising, Vladimir Putin has signed a bill formally suspending the last remaining nuclear arms treaty with the United States. Putin declared a week ago in his State of the Nation address that Moscow was suspending its participation in the 2010 New START treaty, citing the U.S. and NATO's openly declared goal of Russia's defeat in Ukraine. This decision has serious consequences, both for the safety of the world and for the trust between countries. It is a sign of aggression and a sign of mistrust. It is also a sign of a lack of respect for the international agreements that keep the world safe. The New START treaty limits each country to no more than 550 deployed nuclear warheads and 700 deployed missiles and bombers. The agreement envisages sweeping on-site inspections to verify compliance, which have been dormant since 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Under Secretary of State Bonnie Jenkins has criticized Russia for suspending its participation in the treaty and noted that the U.S. is still trying to work with Moscow to continue its implementation. This is a dangerous move by Russia, and it should not be taken lightly. It is a sign that the world's two largest nuclear powers are on a collision course and that both countries do not feel safe with the other. It is also a sign that both countries have a lack of respect for international agreements and that we are living in a dangerous time. We can only hope that cooler heads will prevail and that both countries will find a way to work together and to find a way to ensure the safety of the world. Until then, we must remain vigilant and keep our eyes on the situation. The case against FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has taken another step forward with the plea of Nishad Singh, formerly the cryptocurrency company's engineering director. Singh's plea is the third in the case and carries potential penalties of up to 75 years in prison if he fails to fully cooperate. This case is a prime example of the corruption and fraud that can occur in the world of cryptocurrency. Bankman-Fried is accused of stealing billions of dollars in FTX customer deposits to support the company he founded, a global cryptocurrency exchange affiliated with the cryptocurrency trading hedge fund Alameda Research. He is also accused of making illegal campaign contributions to Democrats and Republicans in an attempt to buy influence over cryptocurrency regulation in Washington. This is a serious case and one that must be taken seriously. Bankman-Fried's alleged actions are a direct attack on the trust and integrity of the entire cryptocurrency industry. It is a reminder that some people are willing to break the law in order to gain power and money. President Joe Biden's plan to forgive federal student loans is headed for a showdown at the Supreme Court. The proposal would eliminate up to $10,000 for most individuals with federal student loan debt and could cost taxpayers as much as $409 billion. 6 GOP states have launched lawsuits claiming the order is an overreach of power, and the court's 6-3 conservative majority will give the final say on the matter. Republicans argue that the plan is unfair to those who didn't go to college and would need to help pay through taxes for the forgiveness plan, or to those who have already paid off their loans or never took out loans. The White House argues that ending the national emergency doesn't change its legal standing for canceling student loan debt because COVID-19 affected millions of borrowers who might have fallen behind on their loans during the pandemic. This case is a prime example of the power struggle between the federal government and state governments. It also demonstrates a lack of respect for the rule of law and the power of the people. The states are challenging the president's right to take executive action, and the White House is pushing back by arguing that its approach is legally sound. This is an important case for the future of the country, and the outcome will have serious implications for the power of the federal government. It is also a sign that the government needs to make sure that it is not overreaching in its use of executive power. We can only hope that the Supreme Court will make the right decision. In the city of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot will lose re-election after a history-making but tumultuous 4 years in office. Lightfoot, with her only credentials listed as the first black woman and first openly gay mayor of the third largest U.S. city, is facing multiple challengers who have heavily criticized her for crime that has spiked during the pandemic and her leadership style. With none of the 9 candidates likely to receive over 50% of the vote, the race is expected to move to an April runoff between the top 2 vote-getters. In a desperate attempt to demonstrate any value, Lightfoot has been touting her record of investing in neighborhoods and supporting workers, such as by increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. She has also noted that the city has navigated unprecedented challenges despite her best efforts, such as the pandemic and its economic and public safety fallout to protests over policing. However, Lightfoot's top rivals have been hammering her over crime and her leadership style. Paul Vallis, who has run as the law and order candidate with support from the city's police union, has promised to put hundreds more officers on the streets. Brandon Johnson is endorsed by the Chicago Teachers Union, which has tangled with Lightfoot, including during an 11-day teacher strike in her first year in office. Lightfoot has accused Vallis of using the ultimate dog whistle by saying his campaign is about taking back our city and of cozying up to the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, whom she calls a racist. It's this lack of responsibility for her own actions and inability to articulate any argument other than calling something racist that has defined her term in office. This election is a pivotal moment for Chicago, and even though the people of Chicago may draw the ire of the Mon Calamari Empire for kicking out its beloved daughter, they will be better off for it. As the coronavirus pandemic winds down in California, with the state's emergency declaration coming to an end, we must reflect on the toll that this virus has taken on our entire nation, and especially the state of California. In the 3 years since Governor Gavin Newsom issued the nation's first stay-at-home order, the state has suffered over 100,000 deaths related to the virus. This grim milestone is a reminder of the devastating impact the virus had on people's lives and livelihoods. It not only disrupted the lives of almost 40 million Californians, but it also exposed the deep political divide in the state and around the country. In California, Governor Newsom used his authority to make sure all local governments had restrictions in place, even threatening to cut funding to those who refused to comply. This is in stark contrast to states like Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott continues to extend the emergency order to prevent local governments from imposing their own virus restrictions. Public health experts have noted that the end of the emergency declaration will have little to no effect on most people, since Newsom has already lifted most of the state's restrictions. But it will also have a symbolic marker of the end of a chapter of history that altered the lives of the state's residents. Even during these challenging times, we must have faith and hope for a better future. We must not forget the lessons we have learned during this pandemic and use them to create a better, healthier, and more resilient nation. That's all, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the Mark Warsh Show. I hope you enjoyed the show and found it informative and entertaining. If you like this content, come join me on social media, where I share my insights and analysis on the world's most important news stories. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.